Okay, so Audrey, this is the analysis booklet, which for us is task 3. And like all of the booklets, we've got our task stuff in here. And what we're focusing on is specifically the blue bits. So for us at the moment, we're going to look at part 2, which is the analysis of media items. And we are going to, I guess, do 3 or 4 of these, but only 2 go to SACE. Okay, so that gives us a chance to kind of practice and to see what we think is the most, I guess, the one that we score the best on. Okay, so when we're completing an analysis, you get given a 1-hour period. You'll be given those materials that I've shown you, and you'll be given the shortened versions. We will have, I'm going to go through a bunch of videos with you at the moment to go through the other ones. And basically you have questions and then you answer them, okay? So to do this really well, what we want is for you to really specifically apply the information that we're talking about. And this is where the questions that you did at the beginning of the term about business, tourism, etc., will come in handy because they gave us some language that are really useful. In terms of the day, you can bring those answers in as notes as well. One of the other things that we have to think about is that the questions themselves, we're going to ask you to talk about things that we have, covered so far in your thinking and in your development with the website, etc. But we're also going to want you to show some creativity to solve some problems, okay? What we've got for our first one is an analysis of surf brands, okay, which works perfectly because you've got your Rip Curl notes as well. So the first article that we've got is about the Rip Curl brand being sold to Kathmandu, which is a New Zealand brand, and that happened last year. So this is a prep task that I'd like you to work on and then submit for some feedback, okay? So in our analysis, we're going to read through the Financial Times material and we're going to answer some questions. And I've tried to make it really clear how much you would be writing in response to each of these questions. So the main issues being covered, what happened and why. Please make sure that you provide an overview sentence. So, this is what happened to Rip Curl. This is why it happened. But where possible, try and integrate some quotes and we'll do some examples of stuff as we go through. When we say draw a flow chart that shows the causes, processes of, and the effect, this could be quite simplistic. This doesn't have to be like a beautiful artwork. It could just be, this event happened, then an arrow to the next event, then an arrow to the next event, then an arrow to the next event. Or it could be lots of arrows pointing to one thing. For part 3, we want you to outline the pros and cons of Rip Curl's buyout. And this could be done in a table. So you have a pros and a cons section. And we're really just looking at how getting purchased by Kathmandu actually help Rip Curl's brand. But then what are some of the possible implications that could come from this as well? And so when we're looking at that, we've got 4 marks. So 2 of each would be great. If you've got more than 2, that would be okay. But I probably would say you wouldn't need more than 3 of each. Same as when we were talking about these 3-mark questions. Sorry, I got distracted. We want to draw a flowchart with at least 1 cause, 1 process, 1 effect, but we want to try and really detail it if we can. And the same with the 3 marks for question 1. What happened? Getting that correct is 1 mark. Explaining why it happened is 1 mark. And using examples from the text to support what you're saying is 1 mark. Then part 4, outlining 2 pieces of evidence which highlight the branding that Rip Curl uses to relate to its consumers. So here, when we're talking branding, we're talking any method that Rip Curl uses in an attempt to create an image of itself. So it could be things like its suppliers, it could be sections of the brand itself, it could be the image it has created over the past few years. Feel free to bring in some of your own personal knowledge that you have about Rip Curl, or use the notes that you've taken on the book as well.